Greetings, people who are probably here by mistake. This video is a companion to my Stradella bass accordion videos, number 38, number 40, and number 41. This is a companion, kind of goes with it. Now, before I go any farther, I want to say that this is very important. In the previous videos, okay, here's your Stradella bass configuration. On the left-hand side of the accordion, right? The point I tried to make, a very important point, was here's your diminished rank of buttons. These are your diminished buttons. And here's a sample button. It's a G flat. The point I tried to make was the G flat button is just that. The G flat button is a button that says, hey, it's called G flat, but that is only the diminished button's name. That is only the name of the button. When you press that button, the sounds that come out are the tones of the E flat diminished chord. So E flat diminished, okay, that is the chord realized using that G flat button. So I wanted to make that perfectly clear. Yes, the buttons have names, and the G flat button's in the G flat file. I understand that, but that is simply the name of the diminished button, okay? Now, 345 years ago, the circle of fifths figure, the picture, first showed up. That's a long time ago, 345 years ago. It was a publication called A Musical Grammar, or you could call it A Grammar of Musical Song, authored by Nikolai Deletsky from what would now be called Ukraine. All right, and this first popped up in 1677. Then there was a second version and the third version, but that was a long, long time ago. In this publication, the circle of fifths first showed up. Then hundreds of years later, I tried to perfect it. I put a date on here, but that doesn't matter because I don't remember when it started and when I finished it. In fact, I've been thinking about these ideas since I was a child, taking accordion lessons, sitting there trying to play that damn thing. Now, on my YouTube channel, on the community page, you can copy this image and use it. And if you want to make your own and you want to play around and have fun, I provide a blank chart. Blank, you can fill it in. You can take what I did and make it better. I don't think it's possible, but you can try. Now, I talked about, in my Amplified Circle of Fifths series of videos, I talked about chord shapes, scale shapes, and song shapes. But today, we're going to talk about something slightly different. If you can be patient, there's some good stuff coming. I call this Amplified Circle of Fifths chord realization, and it's a little bit different than what I've already shown you in those videos. Chords can be realized in two manners, given or derived. Given come directly from the chart I showed you, my Amplified Circle. It comes directly from the chart, okay? The derived chords are realized through what I call single cell chromatic alteration. The derived chords we'll find by using single cell chromatic alteration. So let's take a look at that. We'll look at the given chords first, the ones that are right there in front of us. And I've told you this before. For example, in the amplified circle, you see clearly you have your diminished chord, right? This would be a C diminished. You see clearly you have your C diminished 7. Okay, I showed you this many, many times. And we talked about that at length. And I showed how it relates to the accordion. Then I told you that there's basically really only 3 diminished 7 chords, and all the rest are inversions of those 3. I already talked about that, so we don't need to spend a long, long time on that. And Here's another beautiful thing as it relates to the diminished rank on the Stradella. You see here, let's say we have a sample chord, your C diminished 7. Well, when we talked about the rank on the accordion, the diminished rank, okay, that's the bottom row. I said there were 7 diminished buttons per each bass or root tone, but really only 4 primary because 3 of those 7 are duplicates. Now, here's a nice little feature. If you take one slice on the amplified circle of fifths, you see the tones are C, E flat, G flat, and B flat. And here's the enharmonic equivalents over here. Well, the thing is, this slice, one single slice, shows you your root tone and the 3 other primary diminished buttons on that accordion. Okay, let's say you have an A root, A bass. Well, these are the 4 primary diminished buttons on your accordion. They're right there in the slice. See, they're right there in each slice. You don't need to look all around. For example, with the A root or bass will work with your A diminished button, C diminished button, E flat button, and G flat button. And the thing is, if you look even deeper, you take another look, you say, oh, wait a second. These chords, that's the enharmonic equivalent. I put that down there, okay? They sound the same. If you look at this closely, you'll say, you know what? You could consider this a family of chords. It's a family. They have a correlation. You see? And I talked about that earlier, but I'm showing it to you on the chart itself. It's a beautiful thing. You have your 4 primary tones or diminished buttons on your accordion that go with your bass or your root, whichever one it is. You could even use, like out here, you could use, this is your root. You don't have to start in here, but it's like a family. Each of these is an inversion of the others, which I mentioned before. So that's a beautiful thing as it relates to the Stradella button configuration, okay? I call this my handy chart, okay? I didn't invent this handy chart. I use it, and I'm grateful to the person who gave it to us. Now, for chord realization through chromatic alteration, I showed you the given ones. I showed you the ones that pop right up right in front of you on the circle. Okay, I showed you the given ones, right? Now there are also the derived. And you say, well, how do you get more chords out of there? How do you squeeze more chords out of that chart? You say, Joey, you've made, what, 20-some amplified circle of fifths videos, and there can't be anything more to say about this. Well, I warned the audience a long time ago that there's a million things to say, and this is yet another. For chromatic alteration, you have to slightly change your perspective. You have to look at the chart a little bit different. Here's the chart, okay? Now, you know from my videos, here's your counter major data ring, your major data ring, your minor, and your diminished. 4 data rings. It's a beautiful thing. But now you have to look a little differently to attain chromatic alteration. You have to take this middle line. In other words, the line between your major data ring and your minor data ring. And in your mind, you don't have to draw it like this, but in your mind, you have to know that this is now a launching point. So from here out, we increase, we get greater, okay? From here in the mind, when we're thinking, we go in, we decrease, okay? You see how the arrows go? We take this imaginary thing in our mind, this circle, and from there, we move in That's our perspective. We're moving in, and from here, we're moving out. This is an organic living chart. This is how I designed it. It's a beautiful thing. You say, how can you find one more thing on here? Well, we can. And I'll show you right now. Okay? We'll cut to the chase here. So chromatic alteration, that's moving your tones up or down a half step. Okay? So first we start with the diminished data ring. Okay? On the diminished data ring, that's this one here on your amplified circle of fifths. Okay, that's the innermost ring. So we start there and we say, how can we realize and bring forth a chord by chromatically altering? Well, here's how you do it. You start out here with, let's say, as an example, a C sharp, and you see you have a C diminished chord here, and you see here you have a C diminished 7. So you lower, in your mind, you look at your chart, you lower that tone 1/2 step to a C, and now you have a major chord, a C major, and if you extend it, you have a C dominant 7. You see that? You're going from a diminished to a major, and you're going from a diminished 7 to a dominant 7. You see that? That's in your diminished data ring. You're just changing in your mind this tone. You're lowering it 1/2 step. In your minor data ring, okay, your minor data ring, you look at this E flat and you say, okay, here we have an E flat, we have an E natural, and you see we have an E diminished chord, right? So in our minds, this is hard for me to see, I'm backwards. In our minds, we lower that tone 1/2 step, and now we have a major chord. So with chromatic alteration in that minor data ring, we have gone from diminished to major. You see here? We went from diminished to major, or diminished 7 to dominant 7, and here we go from diminished to major in the minor data ring. You just, in your mind, you just slightly alter that tone, and boom, you're done. Now, you say, well, Joe, you just got lucky. No, it works in all data rings, in the major data ring, okay? We start out with this diminished chord. We raise the tone 1/2 step, and now we have a minor chord. We went from diminished to minor. You see that? All we did in our minds was raise that 1/2 step, and that's chromatic alteration. And we see the tones for a different chord. You don't have to memorize them, you just look at your chart. It works in the counter major data ring. Okay, we start out with this G flat tone, and you see that's a diminished chord there, right there. So we in our minds, we lowered this one, we raised this 1/2 step, and now we have a C minor chord. We went from diminished to minor. Okay, over here in the major data ring, we went from diminished to minor. That basically is how you can look at that amplified circle and realize and discover the tones of a new chord without doing anything other than applying your small brain. And here's the other one again. Once again, chromatic alteration just by looking at the chart, and the key here is from this line here, I made it bold, all right? We're decreasing, we're shrinking, and from this line here, we are expanding, we are moving out, and this is yet another thing you can do with the amplified circle as it relates to the accordion. I probably won't get many views on this, but I'm trying to share as much as possible to make your understanding of the accordion as sharp as possible. So thanks for being incredibly patient. Thanks for watching any of my videos, and have a great day.